Welcome to the Vibrant Woman, Wealthy Women Within mini audio series. I'm your host, Heather Russell, and I'm here to guide you on the journey where intuition meets action and where your vibrancy unlocks the door to wealth in every aspect of your life. In this mini audio summit, you'll be guided by 8 wisdom keepers who've walked the path and are here to light the way for us all. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's dive into this transformational series. Hello, I'm excited to welcome Mercedes Aspland. For those who aren't familiar with Mercedes' work, she is a spiritual manifestation coach who helps spiritual female entrepreneurs how to tap into their innate knowledge and manifest their desire in the quickest possible time. Today, we are diving into transforming your wealth consciousness and the secrets to abundance. Hey, Mercedes, welcome to the show.
Hi, Heather. Thank you. It's lovely to see you again.
Yeah. Mercedes was on our last series, the self-love series, so I'm super excited to have her back. She was amazing.
Thank you.
So, Mercedes, I would love for you to share an aha moment or experience from your life that made you realize that you weren't in alignment and how you got started in the manifestation wealth consciousness scope of work.
Yeah, it was quite a gradual thing, really. And for me, it was actually more realizing that I was manifesting without realizing I was manifesting. And so, but the biggest moment probably in my life when I realized that my intuition and my ability to manifest was there. Was actually not long after I left university, and I was looking for a job, and I'd been offered a job as a recruitment consultant, which I didn't really want to do. And I was walking through the middle of London, and I saw the offices for Merrill Lynch International, and I stopped and I stood in front of it. I was like, I'm going to work there one day. And I had this sense, and I just knew I was going to work there. And literally within a week, I'd been called up for an interview and been in and offered a job. And It was only a short term. It was only a 3-month contract. So I was like, I'm giving up a full-time position for a 3-month contract. I ended up staying for 4 years. But it was that moment, I think, when I realized that actually when we really think something here, we really know it and it really fits with us, that's when we can actually make stuff happen.
Yeah, that alignment. So let's get into that power of conscious thoughts and beliefs, right? Because we are our thoughts and it manifests in reality. So let's talk about the relationship between one's wealth consciousness and like their actual financial experiences.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a lot of people don't realize they have all this baggage around money, and we carry all this baggage around with us, and we're trying to generate wealth. But actually part of the problem, reason we can't generate the wealth is because we either don't really believe we deserve it, or we don't really associate with money. So we think having a lot of money is a bad thing. But our problem with our wealth consciousness is that we have this conscious thing that's there, that we're thinking about money, but underneath we have all these limiting beliefs. And that's actually what our wealth consciousness needs to be. But unless we actually uncover what those limiting beliefs are, we've got 2 separate things. You've got the conscious mind that's thinking about money here, and you've got the subconscious going, but you don't really deserve this. You can't really make it. It's really hard to make money. And you're not necessarily listening to that. So it's that consciousness that's kind of like blocking everything, because you've got a disconnect between what's happening underneath and what's happening on the surface.
Right. So you may not even, like you mentioned, you don't even realize that you have all these limiting beliefs. And then you're wondering why you can't get a raise. You can't find another job. You can't afford this. And it's all, you're repelling money, right? It's all out there. Yeah. It's just waiting for you to allow it into your field.
Exactly. And often as well, those limiting beliefs are things that we don't notice they're limiting beliefs, because they're things that we say so often. And it may be an opinion of what wealthy people are like. And it may be an opinion of how hard it is to make money. And we say those things, it's really hard making money. And we don't even see that as a belief. We see that as a fact that we're just repeating. And it's when we start to uncover those and we start to become conscious of what those things are that we're saying, that we can start to make a shift. Yeah. I think probably one of the things people think is you can just kind of like, you can just shift it, because if you think it just shifts it. But you kind of have to really do the work to replace those limiting beliefs with something else and see them shift gradually, and pick yourself up every time those thoughts come into your mind and shift them, because they keep coming back, which is the hardest thing. Yeah.
Why does it replay like a broken record, right? Like,
Exactly.
we can't really get in that plastic bubble of, total enlightenment where everything like, oh, you're manifesting instantaneously. I mean, that would be amazing, but not here in this 3D matrix.
I don't know. I was reading something the other day about manifesting. It was actually the original Law of Attraction book from Jerry and F. Hicks, and they talk about why you don't have instant manifestation, because otherwise we would manifest all sorts of things we really didn't want. Oh. So you actually do need a bit of a gap between what you think and what happens, because, well, some of the things I thought I really would not actually want to manifest, good or bad.
But you want to know that you bring up a really good point, because we all are manifesting all of the time. So really, I mean, this is terrible to admit, but our current reality is part of our collective thoughts.
Yeah.
And, some of us can see outside of that. I remember, I remember meeting some people when I was on a trip to Egypt with like a healing group that I had gotten certified with. And, she lived in California and I left California and, fled medical tyranny and moved to Texas. And I was asking her questions and she just said, no, I those things don't even exist for me. Masks don't exist for me. And I go, well, I've never worn a mask. And she said, the unmentionable doesn't really exist for me because it doesn't exist in my consciousness. And my mind was really blown. Because I go, what do you mean it doesn't exist in your consciousness? So she had opted out of taking on whatever the collective thought patterns were about that. Meanwhile, I was like totally in lower realm thinking about it. But I go, oh my gosh, your thoughts are so powerful because look at what we all have created.
Yeah, exactly.
Unintentionally.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the things that people really struggle with is that kind of responsibility for what's happening in your life. And I practice Ho'oponopono and I teach it to others as well. And the kind of premise of that is everything in your life you're actually responsible for and you've created. And that's really hard because bad stuff happens to everybody. And then when it happens, your instinct is to blame outwards. But when you actually go inwards and change what's happening inwards, then you can see a huge shift. And it's the same with your wealth consciousness. If you're struggling to attract money, it's what's going on within you, not what's happening in the world. Because everyone always blames, people aren't spending money, or there's not the money there, it's not available. It's what's going on in you that's stopping that money from coming to you.
Yeah, what you see outside of yourself is the mirror. It's like the biggest lesson of all.
Yeah.
And then half the time I go, there's no way I manifested this in my life.
Yeah. But you did, and that's the thing, you did. And it's like, then you sort of think, I can't, I've got to blame someone else for it. But then when you actually say, well, actually, no, I did. And then when you start taking that responsibility, then you can take the responsibility for bringing the positive things in as well. And that's when you get the strength. It's you put yourself in the position of power.
100%. And it's just breaking free of that it's the programming that we have picked up, right, by society, our parents, in utero. Ancestral. And
generational. Yeah, it's been we've existed. We carry it all through. Ho'oponopono. It's the memory. It's what's left. We've got. It's there. It's it's clearing it as much as we can to come back to not having that stuff, having nothing that limits us.
And some people don't actually know what that means. So can you repeat the mantra for the Ho'oponopono?
The Ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you say the phrases. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And the whole idea is that you cleanse yourself of any negative thoughts or patterns or feelings that are going on, and you get back to what is effectively a blank slate where there's no limiting beliefs on there at all. There's no baggage that you get there. You apply it to different areas in your life, and some areas will do better than others. You just keep trying with it.
No, I appreciate you relaying that information, because I think that is really a very powerful mantra, prayer. It always makes me cry when I do it, when I'm in I wait until I'm in the most impossible situation, then I start doing it and I go, the waterworks start. But it is really clearing, and it's just wonderful that you mentioned that. So thank you.
I use it a lot when you get the negative thought patterns coming up, and even like we think about the financial negative thought patterns. If you're struggling to kind of shift them, I find just saying the Ho'oponopono prayer over and over again as a mantra, it stops you from dwelling on the negative thoughts around money, and so you actually shift away from that. It's a way of kind of moving out of the negative thoughts without having to think about how you move out of them.
I like that. And then I like that that's also a way to shift out of like this notion that wealth or wealthy people or power corrupts or something like that, right, is inherently, it's good or bad, right? We have these polarizing thoughts about really everything because this is
Yeah.
the planet of duality,
Yeah.
right? So I just want to speak into further about how we can liberate ourselves from this kind of like financial cultural conditioning. I just think that's so important because without that, it's like we're never going to get it.
Yeah, I think it's again, it's about taking that responsibility, and actually, when you have those thoughts coming up, to question them yourself, to actually think, is it really true? Are people who have a lot of money, are they inherently bad? And actually trying to find for yourself the examples of people who have lots of money who do lots of really good things, and there are countless examples of people who earn money and support huge areas in the world to survive, and they do huge, amazingly good things with their money. And so that can change your opinion. If you have to go out there and say, okay, hang on, is this right? And is what I'm saying to myself, is that actually a fact? And even if it's a belief, does that belief actually serve me? Is this something that I need to have? And why do I need to have that? Because it's about going in and questioning you and what you're actually believing. Is what I'm believing actually a fact? And if it's not, if it is, then why is it a fact? And if it's not, do I actually still need to believe it?
Do you find that people have a hard time approaching that since it's more shadow work?
Yeah. Shadow work, funny enough, I actually have a course on shadow work, and I'm working through a lot of group of people with it at the moment. And it's amazing how when you get to sort of certain levels of shadow work, you come up against things that's really hard to face.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to kind of confront the things that we have. And that's what I was thinking about. A lot of our beliefs are hidden as we believe them as facts. So that's why whenever you're thinking about things, to ask yourself, is this what I'm saying right now? Is it actually a fact? And if you're thinking, yes, this is a fact, then ask why. Why? Is there any example where that's not a fact? Starting to think about that and starting to just approach it from all angles. So we're not just sticking with everything I think is a fact, because actually 99.9% of things we think are what we believe, and there's no actual basis to them whatsoever. And remembering, and there's always important to remember, we actually get to choose what we believe. We don't actually have to believe what people have told us. We don't have to believe what we've believed forever. And you can switch a belief overnight. I did it when I was younger. I used to smoke, and I literally switched my belief on being a smoker and my identity overnight, because something just switched in my brain. I didn't want to smoke anymore, and I just stopped smoking. And that was after like 20 years of smoking. I just stopped. And so it's remembering that you can actually do that, because you can change what's happening in your brain and accepting that. And we think that's another limiting belief. We think we can't change. And that comes historically from science thinking that we couldn't change our brains up until about 20 years ago. And now we know we can. It's kind of filtering that through to the general population. Actually, you can change. And once people start to kind of accept that on a really large scale, then we might see more change happening in people over time as well.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. I was going to use an example. When I was young. So you talked about smoking. When I was young, I loved performing. I was super loud. I used to get in so much trouble being in church because I couldn't whisper, and my parents were so angry with me. So to get out of trouble, because I was constantly in trouble, I became shy. And for the longest time, I'd be like, oh, I have to like assess a situation before I go in, and then I can see if it's safe, and then I can, kind of tippy-toe in to be myself. And I met somebody also in a law of attraction group years and years and years ago. And she said, I used to be really painfully shy, like legitimately painfully shy. And I told myself, I am super outgoing. I love meeting new people. And she says, and then I embodied that identity. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like totally brilliant. So just like you had mentioned, right, you really can shift your thoughts overnight if you want to step into this, different identity, into this like different reality. This persona. I'm not, I have never smoked. Smoking disgusts me. Or, I'm super outgoing and I love being in community.
Yeah, exactly. And it is just literally what you decide to take on as your identity. And I think that's one of the things that it's hard to wrap your head around, because you think, well, I am the way that I am, but actually you're not. You are the product of what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're thinking that you're shy and you're uncomfortable and it's difficult to speak to people, then that's how you'll feel. I used to, like, when I meet people, I was really scared. And I had a shift in my brain where I suddenly thought, well, hang on a minute. When you meet new people, they're just as nervous as you are. And I don't know how I realized it, but I just realized that when I was talking to people, that they probably weren't listening to me, because what they're doing is sitting there thinking about what they want to say.
Yeah.
It's like when you're in a big group and there's someone who says, oh, you've got to introduce yourself. Everyone sits there going, and you're talking, you're introducing yourself. No one's listening because everyone's sitting there going, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, I'm going to say that. So you're not like, you're not being listened to. So you could really say anything and you'd get away with it.
I'm so guilty of that.
When I realized that no one's actually listening to you anyway, I started to talking to people and being like, just saying anything that came into my head. And all you get from the people is, oh, thank God someone else is talking. And they love you because you're the one doing the talking. And and then I just thought, I don't really care anymore because it's fine.
Exactly. And then breakout groups. When like Zoom became really popular, and used to have to do breakout groups. Oh my God, I wanted to be like, oh, my internet connection is so bad. Hold on, let me log on. I was praying that somebody would like take up all of the time. Then I wouldn't have to like sit there and think about what I was going to say.
Yeah. So when someone does that, you just think, I love this person.
Exactly.
So they don't know what they're saying.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. But you are a product of your thoughts and you shape your own reality. And okay, so let's get back to that's part of being a wealthy woman, is really having, like knowing yourself. And if you are shy and introverted, that's perfectly okay. But if you were told a story that said, hey, like I was, you need to be quiet, and so you became shy, right? Then you're not, embodying your authentic self. And the same thing, I think, with with your financial prosperity, you have to step into that persona. But I wonder, I'm seeing more and more about this as we make a shift into more balance, as opposed to, so swayed on the masculine side, and we're trying to bring the feminine side in so that we can balance it. And I've seen a couple of people talking about how law of attraction and manifestation in that way is going away because that was too masculine, essentially. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why it just popped in my head. And I thought maybe I would just riff with you.
Yeah, I kind of understand, because it can be very, very like, this is prescribed law of attraction and you've got to think this way and be like this. But ultimately, the way that you use law of attraction or manifestation is it's how you use it. And it's very personal. And being able to embody the person that you want to be and think the thoughts that you want to think can be very masculine, but it can also be very feminine, because you don't have to be hard on it. You can be very, you can choose to be somebody who attracts wealth in a soft, gentle, feminine way. And you can do it in the way that suits you. And you can, by using the law of attraction, you can say, actually, I don't need to be in a masculine energy to attract finance and wealth. I can be in my feminine energy. I can be authentic with who I am, and I can still attract the wealth, because I know that will actually attract the people that are welcome to my world. And actually, the way the world is changing, there's lots of people out there that are drawn to that energy now anyway. So yes, there's going to still be people that are drawn to the masculine energy, and that's still going to exist over there. And then you're going to have the feminine energy that's going to do its thing as well. And I don't think it's an either or. I think it's the law of attraction. You're going to attract what you are putting out there.
Agreed. So tell me, what do you think, we talked about many things, but what do you think the biggest myth that you personally busted through on your journey, like to be feeling like you're a wealthy woman, you have that resonance like on the inside? And I would love for you to give an example of that, and then tell our listeners how they can apply that wisdom in their lives today.
I think, because I've done a number of different businesses, and one of the things that I've always found doing businesses is you have to go into it and go into it with the mindset it's going to succeed. Because actually you see a lot of business people, and they go into doing something, or even if you've got a job and you're trying to go up the ladder, they don't really commit wholeheartedly to it. So they do it in a half-hearted way, because deep down they don't really think they're going to succeed. Mm-hmm. And that's something, obviously, when I was younger, I might have done. But as I matured and I sort of doing this, well, actually just go all in. Even if it doesn't work, you'll learn what doesn't work. And I think that is the key to anything, is just go all in. And actually believe, like if you really want to do something, and I think this is the problem as well. People often try and do things they don't really want to do. So what you're saying about the masculine energy. So you may feel like you've got this feminine energy, but you think, I've got to do it like that because that's been successful.
Yeah.
And actually then you're not committed to it, and you don't have the same desire and commitment to it. But if you can actually do what you really want to do, your desire will be high, your commitment will be high, and your belief will be high. And that's what's going to get you there. It's having those things combined. So it's getting that true belief behind what you're doing.
Beautifully put. It's all about alignment, right? Doing things that are in alignment with who you are truly and not following the crowd. I think that's Jeep's slogan is don't follow the crowd.
Yeah, but it's true though.
Be a Jeep, don't follow the crowd. Oh my God. So Mercedes, you have an incredible gift for the audience. Would you tell them about that, please, and how they can find you?
I've got an abundance activation meditation, and it's on my website. And obviously, you'll put the link there. That's a 15-minute meditation to kind of activate your abundance mindset and really get you started for it. You can get me on Facebook, the Spiritually Empowered Women Facebook group. And just coming up just after this, I've got a 3-day challenge coming up with a Millionaire Mindset Challenge. So if anybody wants to jump into that, there's details about that in my group as well.
Ah, perfect. All right. I'll have Mercedes' information linked next to her interview. And that's amazing. I think I'm going to sign up for your activation as well. Give it to me on all sides, please. Yeah. All right, perfect. So thank you so much, Mercedes, for being on The Vibrant Woman again. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me. I've loved it. I always love having a chat with you.
Thank you so much. And for our listeners, we'll talk to you soon. Okay, how awesome was that? Another powerful and simple technique to embody your wealthy woman within. And don't forget to head over to the speaker interview page and grab your free gifts from each of the Wisdom Keepers. I'd love to hear what resonated the most with you about this interview. Send me an email at heather@heatherrussell.co or a DM on Instagram at @theheatherrussell. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for tuning in. So much love to you, Vibrant Woman. And bye for now.